Hare Krishna devotees, thank you for joining today's class. We will just waiting for Maharaj to join. He will join any time now. Hare Krishna.
Vanchakalpatarusha kripasundabhebhya patitanam pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo namo namaha. Hare Krishna. Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Preshtaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swami Niti Namine Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Teshatarine Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shivasari Gaura Bhaktivinoda Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Welcome everyone. Great to see you again. We're continuing our reading of the Sri Caitanya-caritāmṛta. We're in the Madhya Lila, and it's chapter 11. We're taking up where we left off yesterday at text number 109. Mahaprabhur alai karila ghamana. Eta Mahaprasad chahe kahaha ki karana. Indeed, Vaninath has already gone to the residence of Lord Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and has taken a huge quantity of Mahaprasadam. Please let me know the reason for this. Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya said, understanding that all the devotees have come, Lord Chaitanya gave the sign, and therefore Vaninath and the others have brought such great quantities of Mahaprasadam. The king then asked the Bhattacharya, why have devotees not observed the regulations for visiting the pilgrimage place, such as fasting, shaving, and so on? Why have they first eaten prasadam? The Bhattacharya told the king, what you have said is right, according to the regulative principles governing the visit of holy places. But there is another path, which is the path of a spontaneous love. According to those principles, there are subtle intricacies involved in the execution of religious principles. Purport. According to the Vedic regulative principles, one has to be celibate before entering a holy place of pilgrimage. Generally, people are very much addicted to sense gratification, and unless they have sex at night, they cannot sleep. The regulative principles therefore enjoin that before a common man goes to a holy place of pilgrimage, he should observe complete celibacy. As soon as one enters a holy place, he must observe fasting for the day, and after shaving his head clean, he must take a bath in a river or ocean near the holy place. These methods are adopted to neutralize the effects of sinful activities. Visiting a holy place of pilgrimage means neutralizing the reactions of a sinful life. Those who go to holy places of pilgrimage actually unload the reactions of their sinful lives, and consequently, holy places are overloaded with sinful activities left there by visitors. When a saintly person or pure devotee visits such a holy place, he absorbs the sinful effects left by the common men, and again purifies the holy place. Tirti kurvanti tirtani. Bhagavatam 1.13.10. Therefore, a common man's visit to a holy place and an exalted saintly person's visit there are different. The common man leaves his sins in the holy place, and a saintly person or devotee cleanses these sins simply by his presence. The devotees of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu were not common men, and they could not be subjected to the rules and regulations governing the visiting of holy places. Rather, they exhibited their spontaneous love for Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Immediately upon arrival at the holy place, they went to see Lord Chaitanya, and by his order they took Mahaprasadam without following the regulations governing holy places. The scriptural injunctions for shaving and fasting are indirect orders of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. However, when there is a direct order from the Lord to take prasadam, naturally the devotees take prasadam as their first duty. When Mahaprasadam is not available, there must be fasting. But when the Supreme Personality of Godhead directly orders one to take prasadam, neglecting such an opportunity is offensive. When Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is distributing prasadam with his transcendental hand, who will neglect such an opportunity and accept the regulative principle of fasting? Previously, the Lord gave me Mahaprasadam, rice, one morning, and I ate it just sitting on my bed, without having even washed my mouth. The man to whom the Lord shows his mercy by inspiring him within the heart takes shelter only of Lord Krishna and abandons all Vedic and social customs. Purport. This is also the teaching of Lord Krishna in Bhagavad Gita 18.66. Sarvadharman parityaja mamekam sharanam raja aham tang sarva papebhyo mokshayishami ma shuchaha. Abandon all varieties of religion and just surrender unto me. I shall deliver you from all sinful reactions. Do not fear. Such firm faith in the Supreme Personality of Godhead is possible only by the mercy of the Lord. The Lord is sitting within everyone's heart, and when he personally inspires his devotee, the devotee does not stick to the Vedic principles or social customs, but rather devotes himself to the transcendental loving service of the Lord. This is confirmed in the following verse from Srimad Bhagavatam 4:29-46. Yada mam anugrunati bhagavanatma bhavitaha sa jahati mating loke vede cha parinishtitam. When one is inspired by the Lord, who is sitting in everyone's heart, he does not care for social custom or Vedic regulative principles. Purport. This injunction, Bhagavatam 4:29-46, was given by Narada Goswami to King Prachinabarhi in connection with the story of Puranjana. Here Narada implies that without the mercy of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, one cannot extricate himself from the fruit of activities that are under the jurisdiction of the Vedas. In previous verses, Bhagavatam 4.29.42-44, Narada admits that even personalities like Lord Brahma, Lord Shiva, Manu, the Prajapatis headed by Daksha, the four Kumaras, Marichi, Atri, Angira, Pulastya, Pulaha, Kratu, Bhrigu, Vashishta, and even Narada himself could not properly receive the causeless mercy of the Lord. After this, King Prataparudra came down from the top of his palace to the ground and called for Kashi Mishra and the inspector of the temple. Maharaj Prataparudra then told both Kashi Mishra and the temple inspector, provide all the devotees and associates of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu with comfortable residences, convenient eating facilities for prasadam, and convenient visiting arrangements at the temple so that there will not be any difficulty. The orders of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu must be carefully carried out. Although the Lord may not give direct orders, you are still to carry out his desires simply by understanding his indications. Saying this, the king gave them permission to leave. Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya also went to see the assembly of all the Vaishnavas. From a distant place, Gopinath Acharya and Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya watched the meeting of all the Vaishnavas with Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Beginning from the right side of the Lion Gate, or the main gate of the temple, all the Vaishnavas began to proceed toward the house of Kashi Mishra. In the meantime, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, accompanied by his personal associates, met all the Vaishnavas on the road with great jubilation. First, Advaita Acharya offered prayers to the lotus feet of the Lord, and the Lord immediately embraced him in ecstatic love. Indeed, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and Advaita Acharya displayed agitation due to ecstatic love. Seeing the time and circumstance, however, Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu remained patient. After this, all the devotees headed by Srivas Thakur offered prayers to the Lord, to the lotus feet of the Lord, and the Lord embraced each and every one of them in great love and ecstasy. The Lord addressed all the devotees one after another and took all of them with him into the house. Since the residence of Kashi Mishra was insufficient, all the assembled devotees were very much overcrowded. I'll repeat that one. Since the residence of Kashi Mishra was insufficient, all the assembled devotees were very much overcrowded. Glad you like that, Shamarupa. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu made all the devotees sit at his side, and with his own hand he offered them garlands and sandalwood pulp. After this, Gopinath Acharya and Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya met all the Vaishnavas at the place of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu in a befitting manner. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu addressed Advaita Acharya Prabhu, saying sweetly, "My dear sir, today I have become perfect because of your arrival." Advaita Acharya Prabhu replied, "This is a natural characteristic of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, although he is personally complete and full in all opulences. He takes transcendental pleasure in the association of his devotees, with whom he has a variety of eternal pastimes." As soon as Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu saw Vasudeva Datta, the older brother of Mukunda Datta, he immediately became very happy, and placing his hand on his body, began to speak. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu said, "Although Mukunda is my friend from childhood, I nonetheless take greater pleasure in seeing you than in seeing him." Purport: Vasudeva Datta was the older brother of Mukunda Datta, who was the childhood friend of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. It is naturally a great pleasure to see a friend, but Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu informed Vasudeva Datta that although it was his pleasure to see his friend, his pleasure was increased by seeing the older brother. Vasudeva replied, "Mukunda got your association in the beginning. As such, he has taken shelter at your lotus feet. That is his transcendental rebirth." Thus, Vasudeva Datta admitted his inferiority to Mukunda, his younger brother. Although Mukunda is my junior, he said, he first received your favor. Consequently, he became transcendental senior to me. Besides that, you very much favored Mukunda. Thus, he is superior in all good qualities. The Lord said, "For your sake only, I have brought 2 books from South India." The books are being kept with Swarup Damodar, and you can get them copied. Hearing this, Vasudeva became very glad. Indeed, each and every Vaishnav copied the 2 books. By and by, the 2 books, the Brahma Samhita and Sri Caitanya-caritāmṛta, were broadcast all over India. The Lord addressed Srivas and his brothers with great love and affection, saying, "I am so obliged that I am purchased by you 4 brothers." Srivas then replied to the Lord, "Why are you speaking in a contradictory way? Rather, we 4 brothers have been purchased by your mercy." After seeing Shankara, Lord Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu told Damodar, "My affection for you is on the platform of awe and reverence." Purport: Here the Lord is addressing Damodar Pandit, who is different from Swarup Damodar. Damodar Pandit is the older brother of Shankara. Thus, the Lord informed Damodar that his affection toward him was on the platform of awe and reverence, However, the Lord's affection toward his younger brother, Shankara, was on the platform of pure love. Therefore, keep your younger brother Shankar with you, because he is connected to me by pure unalloyed love. Damodar Pandit replied, Shankara is my younger brother, but from today he becomes my elder brother because of your special mercy upon him. Then turning toward Shivananda Sain, the Lord said, I know that from the very beginning your affection for me has been very great. Immediately upon hearing this, Shivananda Sain became absorbed in ecstatic love and fell down on the ground, offering obeisances to the Lord. He then began to recite the following verse. Nimajaton nanta bavar navantash chiraya me kulam ivasalabda Tvayapi labdam bhagavan idanim anutamam patram idam dayaya. O my Lord, O Unlimited One, although I was merged in the ocean of nescience, I have now, after a long time, attained you, just as one may attain the seashore. My dear Lord, by getting me, you have obtained the right person upon whom to bestow your causeless mercy. This is verse 21 from the Stotra Ratna, composed by Alamandaru Jamunacharya. One's relationship with the Supreme Personality of Godhead may be reestablished even after one has fallen into the ocean of nescience, which is the ocean of material existence involving the repetition of birth, death, old age, and disease, all arising out of the acceptance of the material body. There are 8,400,000 species of material life, but in the human body one gets a chance to get release from the repetition of birth and death. When one becomes the Lord's devotee, he is rescued from this dangerous ocean of birth and death. The Lord is always prepared to shower his mercy upon fallen souls struggling against miserable conditions, material conditions. As Lord Krishna states in Bhagavad Gita 15.7, Mamaivam sho jiva loke, jiva bhuta sanatanaha, manakshastani indrayani, prakritistani karshati. The living entities in this conditional world are my eternal fragmental parts. Due to conditioned life, they are struggling very hard with the six senses, which include the mind. Thus, every living being is struggling hard in this material nature. Actually, the living entity is part and parcel of the Supreme Lord, and when he surrenders unto the Supreme Personality of Godhead, he attains release from the ocean of birth and death. The Lord, being very kind to fallen souls, is always anxious to get the living entity out of the ocean of nescience. If the living entity understands his position and surrenders to the Lord, his life becomes successful. Murari Gupta at first did not meet the Lord, but rather remained outside the door, falling down like a stick to offer obeisances. When Lord Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu could not see Murari amongst the devotees, he inquired about him. Thereupon, many people immediately went to Murari, running to take him to the Lord. Thus, Murari Gupta, catching two bunches of straw in its teeth, went before Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu with humility and meekness. Upon seeing Murari come to meet him, Lord Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu went up to him, but Murari began to run away and speak as follows. My Lord, please do not touch me. I am most abominable and am not fit for you to touch because my body is sinful. The Lord said, My dear Murari, please restrain your unnecessary humility. My mind is disturbed to see your meekness. Saying this, the Lord embraced Murari and had him sit down by his side. The Lord then began to cleanse his body with his own hands. Lord Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu then, again and again, embraced all the devotees, including Acharya Ratna, Vidyanidhi, Pandit Gadadhar, Gangadas, Haribhatta, and Acharya Purandara. The Lord described their good qualities and glorified them again and again. After thus offering respect to each and every devotee, Lord Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu became very jubilant. However, not seeing Haridas Thakur, he inquired, "Where is Haridas?" Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu then saw in the distance that Haridas Thakur was lying down flat on the road offering obeisances. Haridas did not come to the Lord's meeting place, but remained fallen flat on the common road at a distance. All the devotees then went to Haridas Thakur saying, "The Lord wants to meet you. Please come immediately." Haridas Thakur replied, "I cannot go near the temple because I am a low caste, abominable person. I have no authority to go there." Purport: although Haridas Thakur was such a highly exalted Vaishnav that he was addressed as Haridas Goswami, he still did not like to disturb the common sense of the general populace. Haridas Thakur was so exalted that he was addressed as Thakur and Gosai, and these titles are offered to the most advanced Vaishnavas. The spiritual master is generally called Gosai and Thakur. The spiritual master is generally called Gosai, and Thakur is used to address the Paramahamsas, those in the topmost rank of spirituality. Nonetheless, Haridas Thakur did not want to go near the temple, although he was called there by Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu himself. The Jagannath temple still accepts only those Hindus who are in the Varnashrama order. Other castes, especially those who are not Hindu, are not allowed to enter the temple. This is a long-standing regulation, and thus Haridas Thakur, although certainly competent and qualified to enter the temple, did not want even to go near it. This is called Vaishnav humility. Haridas Thakur then expressed his desire, "If I could just get a solitary place near the temple, I could stay there alone and pass my time. I do not wish the servants of Lord Jagannath to touch me. I would remain there in the garden alone. That is my desire." When this message was relayed to Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu by the people, the Lord became very happy to hear it. At this time, Kashi Mishra, along with the superintendent of the temple, came and offered his respects unto the lotus feet of Lord Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Upon seeing all the Vaishnavas together, Kashi Mishra and the superintendent became very happy. With great happiness, they met with the devotees in a befitting manner. Both submitted to Lord Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, "Please give us orders so that we may make proper arrangements to accommodate all the Vaishnavas." Accommodations have been arranged for all the Vaishnavas. Now let us distribute Mahaprasadam to all of them. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu immediately told Gopinath Acharya, "Please go with the Vaishnavas and accommodate them in whatever residences Kashi Mishra and the temple superintendent offer." Then the Lord told Kashi Mishra and the temple superintendent, "As for the remnants of food left by Jagannath, let them be delivered to Vaninath Roy's charge, for he can take care of all the Vaishnavas and distribute Mahaprasadam to them." Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu then said, "Nearby my place in this garden of flowers is a single room that is very solitary. Please give that room to me, for I have a need for it. Indeed, I shall remember the lotus feet of the Lord sitting in that solitary place." Purport: this statement of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is significant. Nibritte Vashya Tahan Kariba Smarand. I shall sit down there in that solitary place and remember the lotus feet of the Lord. Neophyte students are not to imitate sitting in a solitary place and remembering the lotus feet of the Lord by chanting the Hare Krishna Maha Mantra. We should always remember that it was Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu himself who wanted such a place, either for himself or Haridas Thakur. No one can suddenly attain the level of Haridas Thakur and sit down in a solitary place to chant the Hare Krishna Maha Mantra and remember the lotus feet of the Lord. Only an exalted person like Haridas Thakur or Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, who is personally exhibiting the proper behavior for an acharya, can engage in such a practice. At the present moment, we see that some of the members of the International Society for Krishna Consciousness are tending to leave their preaching activities in order to sit in a solitary place. This is not a very good sign. It is a fact that Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur has condemned this process for neophytes. He has even stated in a song, Pratishtara Thare, Nirjanera Ghare, Tava Harinam Kevala Kaitava. Sitting in a solitary place intending to chant the Hare Krishna Mahamantra is considered a cheating process. This practice is not possible for neophytes at all. The neophyte devotee must act and work very laboriously under the direction of the spiritual master, and he must thus preach the cult of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Only after maturing in devotion can he sit down in a solitary place to chant the Hare Krishna Mahamantra, as Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu himself did. Although Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is the Supreme Personality of Godhead, to teach us a lesson, he traveled all over India continuously for 6 years, and only then retired at Jagannath Puri. Even at Jagannath Puri, the Lord chanted the Hare Krishna Mahamantra in great meetings at the Jagannath temple. The point is that one should not try to imitate Haridas Thakur at the beginning of one's transcendental life. One must first become very mature in devotion and thus receive the approval of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Only at such a time may one actually sit down peacefully in a solitary place to chant the Hare Krishna Mahamantra and remember the lotus feet of the Lord. The senses are very strong, and if a neophyte devotee imitates Haridas Thakur, his enemies, Kam, Krodh, Lobh, Moha, Mada, and Matsarya, will disturb and fatigue him. Instead of chanting the Hare Krishna Mahamantra, the neophyte will simply sleep soundly. Preaching work is meant for advanced devotees, and when an advanced devotee is further elevated on the devotional scale, he may retire to chant the Hare Krishna mantra in a solitary place. However, if one simply imitates advanced spiritual life, he will fall down, just like the Sahajas in Vrindavan. Text 177. Kashi Mishra then told Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, everything belongs to you. What is the use of your begging? By your own will, you can take whatever you like. My Lord, we are your two servants and are here just to carry out your orders. By your mercy, please tell us to do whatever you want. Saying this, Kashi Mishra and the temple inspector took their leave, and Gopinath and Vaninath went with them. Gopinath was then shown all the residential places, and Vaninath was given large quantities of food, Mahaprasadam, left by Lord Jagannath. Thus Vaninath Roy returned with large quantities of Lord Jagannath's food remnants, including cakes and other good eatables. Gopinath Acharya also returned after cleansing all the residential quarters. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu then addressed the Vaishnavas, all the Vaishnavas, and requested that they listen to him. He said, now you can go to your respective residential quarters. Go to the sea and bathe and look at the top of the temple. After so doing, please come back here and take your lunch. After offering obeisances to Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, all the devotees departed for their residences, and Gopinath Acharya showed them their respective quarters. After this, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu went to meet Haridas Thakur, and he saw him engaged in chanting the Mahamantra with ecstatic love. Haridas chanted, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. As soon as Haridas Thakur saw Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, he immediately fell down like a stick to offer him obeisances, and Lord Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu raised him up and embraced him. Then both the Lord and his servant began to cry in ecstatic love. Indeed, the Lord was transformed by the qualities of his servant, and the servant was transformed by the qualities of his master. Purport. The Mayavadi philosophers say that the living entity and the Supreme Lord are non-different, and therefore they equate the transformation of the living entity with the transformation of the Lord. In other words, Mayavadis say that if the living entity is pleased, the Lord is also pleased. And if the living entity is displeased, the Lord is also displeased. By juggling words in this way, Mayavadis try to prove that there is no difference between the living entity and the Lord. This, however, is not a fact. In this verse, Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami explains, Prabhu Gune, Bhritya Bikal, Prabhu Bhritya Gune. The Lord and the living entity are not equal, for the Lord is always the master, and the living entity is always the servant. Transformation takes place due to transcendental qualities, and it is thus said that the servant of the Lord is the heart of the Lord, and the Lord is the heart of the servant. This is also explained by Lord Krishna in Bhagavad Gita 4:11. Ye yata mam prapadyante tam sataiva bhajamyaham mama vartmanu vartante manushya partha sarvashaha. As all surrender unto me, I reward them accordingly. Everyone follows my path in all respects, O son of Pritha. The Lord is always eager to congratulate the servant because of the servant's transcendental qualities. The servant pleasingly renders service unto the Lord, and the Lord also very pleasingly reciprocates, rendering even more service unto the servant. And that's my allotted time. Thank you very much to all the Vaishnavas. And we'll see you, Krishna willing, in a few hours for Mangal Artik or online somewhere. Panchakalpadurusha Kripasindhavya Patitanam Pavanibhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha. Shri Gaur Purnima Ki Jai. Now I believe somebody else is taking up the reading.
Yes, Maharaj.
Very good. Hare Krishna.
So Shamrupa Prabhu, please continue.
Okay, Prabhu. Text 188. Haridas Thakur said, My dear Lord, please do not touch me, for I am most fallen and untouchable, and I am the lowest among men. The Lord said, I wish to touch you just to be purified, for your purified activities do not exist in me. Purport. This is an example of the reciprocation of feelings between master and servant. The servant thinks that he is most impure and that the master should not touch him. And the master thinks that because he has become impure by associating with so many impure living entities, he should touch a pure devotee like Haridas Thakur just to purify himself. Actually, both the servant and the master are already purified because neither of them is in touch with the impurities of material existence. They are already equal in quality because both of them are the purest. There is a difference in quantity, however, because the master is unlimited and the servant is limited. Consequently, the servant always remains subordinate to the master, and this relationship is eternal and undisturbed. As soon as the servant feels like becoming the master, he falls into Maya. Thus, it is by misuse of free will that one falls under the influence of Maya. The Mayavadi philosophers try to explain the equality of master and servant in terms of quantity, but they fail to explain why. If the master and the servant are equal, the servant falls victim to Maya. They try to explain that when the servant, the living entity, is out of the clutches of Maya, he immediately becomes the so-called master again. Such an explanation is never satisfactory. Being unlimited, the master cannot become a victim of Maya, for in such a case, his unlimitedness would be crippled or limited. Thus, the Mayavada explanation is not correct. The fact is that the master is always master and unlimited. And no, scroll up a little bit. Yeah. Thus, the Mayavada explanation is not correct. The fact is that the master is always master and unlimited, and the servant, being limited, is sometimes curtailed by the influence of Maya. Maya is also the master's energy and is also unlimited. Therefore, the limited servant or limited living entity is forced to remain under the master or the master's potency, Maya. Being freed from the Maya's influence, one can again become a pure servant and equal qualitatively to the Lord. The relationship between the master and the servant continues due to their being unlimited and limited respectively. Text 190. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu exalted Haridas Thakur, stating, "At every moment you take your bath in all the holy places of pilgrimage, and at every moment you perform great sacrifices, austerity, and charity. You are constantly studying the four Vedas, and you are far better than any Brahmana or sannyasi." Text 192. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu then recited the following verse: "My dear Lord, one who always keeps your holy name on his tongue becomes greater than the initiated Brahmana. Although he may be born in a family of dog-eaters, and therefore by material calculation may be the lowest among men, he is still glorious. This is the wonderful effect of chanting the holy name of the Lord. It is therefore concluded that one who chants the holy name of the Lord should be understood to have performed all kinds of austerities and great sacrifices mentioned in the Vedas. He has already taken his bath in all the holy places of pilgrimage. He has studied all the Vedas, and he is actually an Aryan." Purport. The word Aryan means advanced. Unless one is spiritually advanced, he cannot be called Aryan. And this is the difference between Aryan and non-Aryan. Non-Aryans are those who are not spiritually advanced. By following the Vedic culture, by performing great sacrifices, and by becoming a strict follower of the Vedic instructions, one may become a Brahmana, a sannyasi, or an Aryan. It is not possible to become a Brahmana, a sannyasi, or Aryan without being properly qualified. Bhagavata Dharma never allows one to become a cheap Brahmana, sannyasi, or Aryan. The qualities or qualifications described herein are quoted from Srimad Bhagavatam 3:33-7 and were spoken by Devahuti, the mother of Kapila Deva, when she understood the influence of devotional service, Bhakti Yoga. In this way, Devahuti praised the devotee, pointing out his greatness in all respects. Text 193. Saying this, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu took Haridas Thakur within the flower garden, and there, in a very secluded place, he showed him his residence. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu requested Haridas Thakur, "Remain here and chant the Hare Krishna Mahamantra. I shall personally come here to meet you daily. Remain here peacefully and look at the chakra on the top of the temple and offer obeisances. As far as your prasadam is concerned, I shall arrange to have that sent here." Purport. Since he was born in a Muslim family, Srila Haridas Thakur could not enter the temple of Jagannath due to temple restrictions. Nonetheless, he was recognized by Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu as Namacharya Haridas Thakur. Haridas Thakur, however, considered himself unfit to enter the Jagannath temple. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu could have personally taken Haridas Thakur into Jagannath temple if he wished, but the Lord did not like to disturb a popular custom. Consequently, the Lord asked his servant simply to look at the Vishnu wheel on the top of the temple and offer obeisances, namaskara. This means that if one is not allowed to enter the temple, or if he thinks himself unfit to enter the temple, he can look at the wheel from outside the temple, and that is as good as seeing the deity within. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu promised to come daily to see Srila Haridas Thakur, and this indicates that Srila Haridas Thakur was so advanced in spiritual life that although considered unfit to enter the temple, he was being personally visited by the Lord every day, nor was there any need for his going outside his residence to collect food. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu assured Haridas Thakur that the remnants of his food would be sent there. As the Lord states in the Bhagavad Gita 9.22, Yoga Kshemam Vahamyaham. I shall arrange all life's necessities for my devotees. A reference is made here for those who are very anxious to imitate the behavior of Thakur Haridas in an unnatural way. One must receive the order of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu or his representative before adopting such a way of life. The duty of a pure devotee or a servant of the Lord is to carry out the order of the Lord. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu asked Nityananda Prabhu to go to Bengal and preach, and he asked Goswamis Rupa and Sanatana to go to Vrindavan and excavate the lost places of pilgrimage. In this case, the Lord asked Haridas Thakur to remain there at Jagannath Puri and constantly chant the holy name of the Lord. Thus, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu gave different persons different orders, and consequently, one should not try to imitate the behavior of Haridas Thakur without being ordered by Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu or his representative. Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur condemns such an imitation in this way. Dushtaman tumi kisher Vaishnav Pratishtharatare Nirajaner ghare Taba Harinam Kevala Kaita Dushtaman. My dear mind, you are trying to imitate Haridas Thakur and chant the Hare Krishna mantra in a secluded place, but you are not worth being called a Vaishnava, because what you want is cheap popularity and not the actual qualifications of Haridas Thakur. If you try to imitate him, you will fall down, for your neophyte position will cause you to think of women and money. Thus, you will fall into the clutches of Maya, and your so-called chanting in a secluded place will bring about your downfall. Text 196. When Nityananda Prabhu, Jagadananda Prabhu, Damodara Prabhu, and Mukunda Prabhu met Haridas Thakur, they all became very pleased. When Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu returned to his residence after taking a bath in the sea, all the devotees headed by Advaita Prabhu went to bath in the sea. After bathing in the sea, Advaita Prabhu and all other devotees returned, and on their return they saw the top of Jagannath temple. They then went to the residence of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu to take their luncheon. One after the other, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu made all the devotees sit in their proper places. He then began to distribute prasadam with his own transcendental hand. All the devotees were served prasadam on plantain leaves, and Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu distributed on each leaf a quantity suitable for 2 or 3 men to eat, for his hand could not distribute less than that. All the devotees kept their hands raised over the prasadam distributed to them, for they did not want to eat without seeing the Lord eat first. Sarup Damodar Goswami informed Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, unless you sit and take prasadam, no one will accept it. Gopinath Acharya has invited all the sannyasis who remain with you to come and take prasadam. Gopinath Acharya has already come, bringing sufficient remnants of food to distribute to all the sannyasis, and sannyasis like Paramananda Puri and Brahmananda Bharati are waiting for you. You may sit down and accept the luncheon with Nityananda Prabhu, and I shall distribute the prasadam to all the Vaishnavas. After this, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu carefully delivered some prasadam into the hands of Govinda to be given to Haridas Thakur. Then Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu personally sat down to accept lunch with the other sannyasis, and Gopinath Acharya began to distribute the prasadam with great pleasure. Then Swarup Damodar Goswami, Damodar Pandit, and Jagadananda all began to distribute prasadam to the devotees with great pleasure. They ate all kinds of cakes and sweet rice, filling themselves up to their throats, and at intervals they vibrated the holy name of the Lord in great jubilation. Purport. It is a practice of Vaishnavas while taking prasadam to chant the holy name of Lord Hari at intervals and also sing various songs such as Sarira Vidyajal. Those who are honoring prasadam, accepting the remnants of food offered to the deity, must always remember that prasadam is not ordinary food. Prasadam is transcendental. We are therefore reminded, Mahaprasade Govinde Nama Brahmani Vaishnave Svalpa Punyam Vatam Rajan Vishwasa Naiva Jayate. Those who are not pious cannot understand the value of Mahaprasadam or the holy name of the Lord. Both Prasadam and the Lord's name are on the Brahman platform or spiritual platform. One should never consider Prasadam to be like ordinary hotel cooking, nor should one touch any other nor should one touch any kind of food not offered to the deity. Every Vaishnava strictly follows this principle and does not accept any food that is not prasadam. One should take prasadam with great faith and should chant the holy name of the Lord and worship the deity in the temple, always remembering that the deity, Mahaprasadam, and the holy name do not belong to the mundane platform. By worshipping the deity, eating prasadam, and chanting the Hare Krishna Maha Mantra, one can always remain on the spiritual platform, Brahma Bhuyaya Kalpate. After everyone had finished his lunch and washed his mouth and hands, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu personally decorated everyone with flower garlands and sandalwood bulb. After thus accepting prasadam, they all went to take a rest at their respective residences. And in the evening, they again came to meet Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. At that time, Ramananda Rai also came to meet Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, and the Lord took the opportunity to introduce him to all the Vaishnavas. The great personality of Godhead, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, then took all of them to the temple of Jagannath and began the congregational chanting of the holy name there. After seeing the Dhupa Arati of the Lord, they all began congregational chanting. Then the Padicha, the superintendent of the temple, came and offered flower garlands and sandalwood bulb to everyone. 4 parties were then distributed in 4 directions to perform Sankirtan, and in the middle of them, Lord Himself, known as the son of Mother Sachi, began to dance. In the 4 groups, there were 8 mridangas and 32 cymbals. All together, they began to vibrate the transcendental sound, and everyone said, "Very good, very good." When the tumultuous vibration of the Sankirtana resounded, all good fortune immediately awakened, and the sound penetrated the whole universe to the 14 planetary systems. When the congregational chanting began, ecstatic love immediately overflooded everything, and all the residents of Jagannath Puri came running. Everyone was astonished to see such a performance of Sankirtan, and they all agreed that never before had Kirtana been so performed and ecstatic love of Godhead so exhibited. At that time, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu circumambulated the temple of Jagannath and continuously danced about the whole area. As the circumambulation was performed, the 4 Kirtana parties sang in front and in the rear. When Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu fell down to the ground, Sri Nityananda Rai Prabhu lifted him up. While Kirtan was going on, there was a transformation of ecstatic love and much tears, jubilation, trembling, perspiration, and deep resounding in the body of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Upon seeing this transformation, all the people present became very much astonished. The tears from the eyes of the Lord came out with great force, like water from a syringe. Indeed, all the people who surrounded him were moistened by his tears. After circumambulating the temple, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu for some time remained at the rear of the temple and continued his Sankirtan. On all the four sides, the four Sankirtana groups chanted very loudly. And in the middle, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu danced, jumping high. After dancing for a long time, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu became still and ordered four great personalities to begin to dance. In one group, Nityananda Prabhu began to dance, and in another group, Advaita Acharya began to dance. Bakreshwara Pandit began to dance in another group, and yet another group, Srivas Thakur, began to dance. While this dancing was going on, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu watched them and performed a miracle. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu stood in the middle of the dancers, and all the dancers in all directions perceived that Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was looking at them, wanting to see the dancing of the four great personalities. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu exhibited this miracle of seeing everyone simultaneously. Everyone who saw Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu could understand that he was performing a miracle, but they did not know how it was that he could see in all four sides. In his own pastime in Vrindavana, when Krishna used to eat on the bank of the Jamuna and sit in the center of his friends, every one of the cowherd boys would perceive that Krishna was looking at him. In the same way, when Chaitanya Mahaprabhu observed the dancing, everyone saw that Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was facing him. When someone came nearby while dancing, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu tightly embraced him. Everyone seeing the great dancing, great love, and great Sankirtan. All the people of Jagannath Puri floated in an ecstatic ocean of love. Hearing the greatness of the Sankirtan, King Prataparudra went up to the top of his palace and watched the performance with his personal associates. The king was very much astonished to see Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's Kirtan, and the king's anxiety to meet him increased unlimitedly. After the Sankirtana ended, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu watched the offering of flowers to the Lord Jagannath deity. Then he and all the Vaishnavas returned to his residence. The superintendent of the temple then brought large quantities of prasadam, which Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu personally distributed to all the devotees. Finally, they all departed to rest in bed. In this way, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, the son of Sachimata, performed his pastimes. As long as the devotees remained at Jagannath Puri with Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, the pastime of Sankirtana was performed with great jubilation every day. In this way, I have explained the Lord's pastime of Sankirtan, and I bless everyone with this benediction. By listening to this description, one will surely become a servant of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, praying at the lotus feet of Sri Rupa and Sri Raghunath, always desiring their mercy. I, Krishna Das, narrate Sri Caitanya-caritāmṛta, following in their footsteps. Thus end the Bhakti-vedanta purports to Sri Chaitanya. Can I go back? Just to end that. Can you go back? Well, 11. Thus end the Bhakti-vedanta purports to Sri Caitanya-caritāmṛta, Madhya Lila, 11th chapter, describing the Veda Kirtan pastimes of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Chapter 12. From the beginning, very beginning. Chapter 12, the cleansing of the Gundicha temple. In his Amrita Prabha Bhasya, Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur summarizes this chapter as follows. The king of Orissa, Maharaj Prataprudra, tried his best to see Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Srila Nityananda Prabhu and the other devotees informed the Lord about the king's desire. But Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu would not agree to see him. At that time, Sri Nityananda Prabhu devised a plan, and he sent a piece of the Lord's outward garment to the king. The next day, when Ramananda Rai again entered Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu to see the king. The next day, when Sri Ramananda Rai again entreated Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu to see the king, the Lord, denying the request, asked Ramananda Rai to bring the king's son before him. The prince visited the Lord dressed like a Vaishnava, and this awakened remembrance of Krishna. Thus Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu delivered the son of Maharaj Prataprudra. After this, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu washed the Gundicha temple before the Rath Yatra took place. He then took his bath at Indradumna lake and partook of prasadam in the garden nearby. While Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was the temple of Gundicha, a Gauriya Vaishnava washed the lotus feet of the Lord and drank the water. This incident is very significant, for it awoke within the devotee ecstatic love. Then the son of Advaita Prabhu, named Gopala, fainted during Kirtana, and when he did not come to his senses, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu favored him by awakening him. There was also some humorous talk between Nityananda Prabhu and Advaita Prabhu during Prasadam. Advaita Prabhu said that Nityananda Prabhu was unknown to anyone and that it was not the duty of a householder Brahmana to accept dinner with a person unknown in society. In answer to this humorous statement, Sri Nityananda Prabhu replied that Advaita Acharya was a monist and that one could not know how his mind could be turned by eating with such an impersonalist. The conversation of these two Prabhus, Nityananda Prabhu and Advaita Prabhu, carried a deep meaning that only an intelligent man can understand. After all, the Vaishnavas finished their luncheon. Sarup Damodar and others took prasadam within the room. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu took great pleasure when he saw the Jagannath deity after the period of deity's retirement. At that time, Lord Chaitanya was accompanied by all the devotees, and all of them were very pleased. Text 1. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu washed and cleansed the Gundicha temple with his devotees and associates. In this way, he made it as cool and bright as his own heart, and thus he made the temple a befitting place for the Lord Krishna to sit. Jaya Jaya Gaura Chandra Jaya Nityananda Jaya Dvaita Chandra Jaya Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. All glories to Gaura Chandra, all glories to Nityananda, all glories to Advaita Chandra, and all glories to all the devotees of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. All glories to the devotees of Lord Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu headed by Srivas Thakur. I beg their power so that I can properly describe Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. When Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu returned from his South India tour, Maharaj Prataprudra, the king of Orissa, became very anxious to meet him. The king sent a letter from his capital Kataka to Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya, entreating him to obtain the Lord's permission so that he could go and see him. Replying to the king's letter, the Bhattacharya wrote that Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu had not given his permission. After this, the king wrote him another letter. In this letter, the king requested Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya, please appeal to all the devotees associated with Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and submit this petition to them on my behalf. If all the devotees associated with the Lord are favorably disposed towards me, they can submit my petition at the lotus feet of the Lord. By the mercy of all the devotees, one can attain the shelter of the lotus feet of the Lord. Without his mercy, my kingdom does not appeal to me. If Gaur Hari, Lord Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu will not show mercy to me, I shall give up my kingdom, become a mendicant and beg from door to door. When the Bhattacharya received this letter, he became very anxious. He then took the letter and went to the devotees of the Lord. Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya met with all the devotees and described the king's wishes. Then he presented the letter to all of them for inspiration, for inspection. Please let me know when my time is up. I think my time is almost there. Upon reading the letter, everyone was astonished to see that King Prataparudra had so much devotion for the lotus feet of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. The devotees gave their opinion and said, the Lord will never meet the king, and if we requested him to do so, the Lord would surely feel very unhappy. Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya then said, we shall go once again to the Lord, but we shall not request him to meet the king. Rather, we shall simply describe the good behavior of the king. Having thus reached a decision, they all went to the place of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. There, although ready to speak, they could not even utter a word. Hare Krishna, I think my time is up.
Thank you, Shamrupa Prabhu, for reading. And now Her Grace Shraddha Mataji will continue the reading.
Thank you so much, Shamrupa Prabhu. It was a pleasure to hear from your lotus mouth. Om Jnanatimrandasya Jnananjan Chalakya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namah. Thank you, Shri Gopal Prabhu, for giving me this rare opportunity to read. So we'll continue from text number 17. After they arrived at Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's place, the Lord, seeing them, said, what have you all come here to say? I see that you want to say something, but you do not speak. What is the reason? Nityanand Prabhu then said, we want to tell you something. Although we cannot stay without speaking, we are still very much afraid to speak. We want to submit before you something that may or may not be befitting. The matter is this. Unless he sees you, the king of Orissa will become a mendicant. Nityanand Prabhu continued, the king has decided to become a mendicant and accept the sign of a mendicant by wearing an ivory earring. He does not want to enjoy his kingdom without seeing the lotus feet of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. In India, there is still a class of professional mendicants who are very much like the gypsies of Western countries. They know some magical art and mystical processes, and their business is to beg from door to door, sometimes pleading and sometimes threatening. Such mendicants are sometimes called yogis and sometimes Kanafata yogis. The word Kanafata refers to one who has put a hole in his ear to wear an earring made of ivory. Maharaj Prataparudra was so depressed by not getting to see Chaitanya Mahaprabhu that he decided to become such a yogi. Ordinary men think that a yogi must have an ivory earring in his ear, but this is not the sign of a real yogi. Maharaj Prataparudra also thought that to become a mendicant yogi, one must wear such an earring. Nityanand Prabhu continued, the king also expressed his desire to see the moon-like face of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu to his eyes' full satisfaction. He would like to raise the lotus feet of the Lord to his heart. Hearing all these statements, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's mind was suddenly softened, but externally he wished to speak some harsh words. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu said, I can understand that you all desire to take me to Kataka to see the king. Purport: Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is naturally the reservoir of all kindness, and as soon as he heard the statement made by the king, his heart immediately softened. Thus the Lord was ready to go see the king even at Katak. He did not even consider allowing the king to come from Katak to Jagannath-puri to see him. It is significant that Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was so kind that he was ready to go see the king at Katak. Apparently, it was never expected that the king wanted to see the Lord at his place, but by way of being externally harsh, the Lord indicated that if all the devotees so desired, he would go to Katak to see the king. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu continued, what to speak of spiritual advancement, all the people will blaspheme me, and what to speak of all the people, Damodar would chastise me. I shall not meet the king at the request of all the devotees, but I shall do so if Damodar will give his permission. Purport: from the spiritual point of view, a sannyasi is strictly forbidden to see materialistic people, especially a king who is always engaged in counting pounds, shillings, and pence. Indeed, the meeting between a sannyasi and a king is always considered abominable. A sannyasi is always subjected to public criticism, and a small fault on his part is taken seriously by the public. People actually expect a sannyasi to preach and not take part in any social or political matters. If a sannyasi is subject to public criticism, his preaching will not be fruitful. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu specifically wanted to avoid such criticism so that his preaching work would not be hampered. It so happened that while the Lord was talking to his disciples at that time, the devotee Damodar Pandit was present. This Damodar Pandit was a very faithful devotee and a staunch lover of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Whenever there was anything that might touch or taint the character of the Lord, Damodar Pandit would immediately point it out, not even considering the exalted position of the Lord. It is sometimes said that fools rush in where angels dare not. And Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu wanted to point out Damodar Pandit's foolishness in coming forward to criticize the Lord. This is why the Lord stated that if Damodar Pandit would give him permission, he would go see the king. There was deep meaning in this statement, for it is a warning that Damodar should not dare criticize the Lord any more, for it was not befitting his position as a devotee. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was considered the guide and spiritual master of all the devotees living with him. Damodar Pandit was one of them, and the Lord rendered Damodar Pandit a special favor by warning him to avoid criticizing him any further. A devotee or a disciple should never attempt to criticize the Lord or his representative, the spiritual master. Damodar immediately replied, "My Lord, you are the fully independent Supreme Personality of Godhead. Since everything is known to you, you know what is permissible and what is not permissible. I am merely an insignificant jiva, so what power do I have to give directions to you? By your own personal choice, you will meet with the king. I shall see it. The king is very much attached to you, and you are feeling affection and love towards him. Thus, I can understand that by virtue of the king's affection for you, you will touch him. Although you are the Supreme Personality of Godhead and are completely independent, still you are dependent on the love and affection of your devotees. That is your nature." Nityanand Prabhu then said, "Who is there in the three worlds who can ask you to see the king? Still, isn't it the nature of an attached man to give up his life if he does not attain his desired object? For instance, some of the wives of the Brahmanas who were performing sacrifices gave up their lives in the presence of their husbands for the sake of Krishna." Purport: this refers to the day Lord Krishna and his cowherd boys and flocks of animals were present in the pasturing grounds near Mathura. At that time, the cowherd boys, being a little hungry, requested food, and Lord Krishna asked them to go to the Brahmanas who were engaged nearby in performing yajna or sacrifice, and to get some food from that yajna. Being so ordered by the Lord, all the cowherd boys went to the Brahmanas and asked them for food, but they were denied. After this, the cowherd boys begged food from the wives of the Brahmanas. All these wives were very much devoted to Lord Krishna in spontaneous love, and as soon as they heard the request of the cowherd boys and understood that Krishna wanted some food, they immediately left the place of sacrifice. They were very much chastised for this by their husbands, and they were ready to give up their lives. It is the nature of a pure devotee to sacrifice his life for the transcendental loving service of the Lord. Nityanand Prabhu then submitted one suggestion for the Lord's consideration. There is a way, he suggested, by which you need not meet the king, but would enable the king to continue living. If you, out of your mercy, send one of your outer garments to the king would live hoping to see you sometime in the future. Purport: Sri Nityanand Prabhu was thus very tactfully suggesting that Chaitanya Mahaprabhu give a piece of his old clothing to the king. Even though the king was not to meet the Lord, the king would then be pacified by receiving such a cloth. The king was very anxious to see the Lord, yet it was not possible for the Lord to see him. Just to resolve the situation, Nityanand Prabhu suggested that the Lord send an old piece of clothing. Thus, the king would understand the Lord was showing mercy to him. The king would then not do anything drastic like giving up his life or becoming a mendicant. The Lord said, "Since you are all very learned personalities, whatever you decide, I shall accept." Lord Nityananda Prabhu then obtained the external garment used by the Lord by requesting it from Govinda. Thus, Nityananda Prabhu delivered the old cloth to the care of Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya, and Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya sent it to the king. When the king received the old cloth, he began to worship it exactly as he would worship the Lord personally. Purport. This is also the conclusion of the Vedic injunctions. Since the Supreme Personality of Godhead is the absolute truth, everything in relation to him is on the same platform. The king had great affection for Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, and although he did not see the Lord, he had nonetheless already attained the conclusion of devotional service. Immediately upon receiving the cloth from Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya, the king began to worship it, accepting it as Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. The Lord's clothing, bedding, slippers, and everything required as an ordinary necessity are all transformations of Shesha, Vishnu, the expansion of Sri Baldeva. Thus, the cloth and other paraphernalia of the Supreme Personality of Godhead are but other forms of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Everything connected to the Lord is worshipable. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu instructs us that just as Krishna is worshipable, Krishna's place Vrindavan is also worshipable. And as Vrindavan is worshipable, similarly the paraphernalia in Vrindavan, the trees, roads, river, everything is worshipable. A pure devotee thus sings Jaya Jaya Vrindavana Vasi Yata Jan. All glories to the residents of Vrindavan. If a devotee has staunch devotional attitude, all these conclusions will be awakened or revealed within the heart. Yasya deve para bhakti yatha deve tatha guru tasyate katita hi artha prakashante mahatmanaha. Only unto those great souls who have implicit faith in both the Lord and the spiritual master are all the imports of the Vedic knowledge automatically revealed. Shweta Ashwata Upanishad 6.23. Thus, following in the footsteps of Maharaj Prabhupada and other devotees, we should learn to worship everything belonging to the Supreme Personality of Godhead. This is referred to by Lord Shiva as Tadiya Nam. In the Padma Puran, it is said, Aradhanam Sarvesham Vishnu Aradhanam Param Tasmat Parataram Devi Tadiyanam Samachanam. O Devi, the most exalted system of worship is the worship of Lord Vishnu. Greater than that is the worship of Tadiya or anything belonging to Vishnu. Shri Vishnu is Satchidanand Vigraha. Similarly, the most confidential servant of Krishna, the spiritual master, and all devotees of Vishnu are Tadiya. The Satchidanand Vigraha Guru, Vaishnavas, and things used by them must be considered Tadiya and without a doubt worshipable by all living beings. After returning from his service in South India, Ramananda Raya requested the king to allow him to remain with Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. When Ramananda Raya requested the king to allow him to stay with the Lord, the king immediately gave him permission with great satisfaction. As for the king himself, he began to solicit Ramananda Raya to make a meeting arrangement. The king told Ramananda Raya, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is very, very merciful to you. Therefore, please solicit my meeting with him without fail. The king and Ramananda Raya returned together to Jagannath Kshetra, Puri, and Sri Ramananda Raya met Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. At that time, Ramananda Raya informed Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu about the excessive love of the king. Indeed, as soon as there was some opportunity, he repeatedly informed the Lord about the king. Sri Ramananda Raya was indeed a diplomatic minister for the king. His general behavior was very expert, and simply by describing the king's love for Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, he gradually softened the Lord's mind. Purport. A diplomat in the material world knows how to deal with people, especially in political affairs. Some of the great devotees of the Lord, like Ramananda Raya, Raghunath Das Goswami, Sanatan Goswami, and Rupa Goswami, were government officials and had a background of very opulent householder life. Consequently, they knew how to deal with people. In many instances, we have seen the diplomacy of Rupa Goswami, Raghunath Das Goswami, and Ramananda Raya employed in the service of the Lord. When Raghunath Das Goswami's father and uncle were to be arrested by the government officials, Raghunath Das Goswami hid them and personally met the government officers and settled the affair diplomatically. This is but one instant. Similarly, Sanatan Goswami, after resigning his ministership, was thrown in jail and he bribed the attendant of the jail, so he could leave the clutches of the Nawab and live with Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Now we see Ramananda Raya, a most confidential devotee of the Lord, diplomatically soften the heart of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, despite the fact that Lord definitely decided not to meet the king. The diplomacy of Ramananda Roy and entreaties of Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya and all the other great devotees succeeded. The conclusion is that diplomacy used for the service of the Lord is a form of devotional service. Maharaj Prataprudra, in great anxiety, could not endure not seeing the Lord. Therefore, Sri Ramananda Roya, by his diplomacy, arranged a meeting with the Lord for the king. Sri Ramananda Roya frankly requested Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, please show your lotus feet to the king at least once. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu replied, my dear Ramananda, you should make this request after duly considering whether it is befitting of a sannyasi to meet a king. If a mendicant meets a king, this world and the next world are both destroyed for the mendicant. Indeed, what is there to say of the next world? In this world, people will joke if a sannyasi meets a king. Ramananda Raya replied, my lord, you are the supreme independent personality. You have nothing to fear from anyone because you are not dependent on anyone. When Ramananda Roy addressed Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu as the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu objected, saying, I am not the Supreme Personality of Godhead, but an ordinary human being. Therefore, I must fear public opinion in three ways, with my body, mind, and words. As soon as the general public finds a little fault in the behavior of a sannyasi, they advertise it like wildfire. A black spot of ink cannot be hidden on a white cloth. It is always very prominent. Ramananda Rai replied, my dear Lord, you have delivered so many sinful people. The king Prataprudra, the king of Orissa, is actually a servitor of the Lord and your devotee. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu then said, there may be much milk in a big pot, but if it is contaminated by a drop of liquor, it is untouchable. The king certainly possesses all good qualities, but simply by taking up the name king, he has infected everything. But if you are still very eager for the king to meet me, please first bring his son to meet me. It is indicated in the revealed scriptures that the son represents the father. Therefore, the son's meeting with me would be as good as the king's meeting with me. Purport. In Srimad Bhagavatam 10:78-36, it is said, Atma vai putra utpanna iti vedanu sasanam. The Vedas enjoin that one is born as his own son. The son is non-different from the father, and this is admitted in every revealed scripture. In Christian theology, it is believed that Christ, the Son of God, is also God, or in other words, that they are identical. Ramananda Rai then went to inform the king about his talks with Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, and following the Lord's orders, brought the king's son to meet him. The prince, thus entering upon his youth, was very beautiful. He was blackish in complexion and had large lotus eyes. The prince was dressed in yellow cloth, and there were jewel ornaments decorating his body. Therefore, anyone who saw him could remember Lord Krishna. Seeing the boy, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu immediately remembered Krishna. Meeting the boy in ecstatic love, the Lord began to speak. Here is a great devotee, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu said. Upon seeing him, everyone can remember the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Krishna, son of Maharaj Nanda. Purport. In his Anubhashya, Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur states that a materialistic mistakenly accepts the body and mind as the source of material enjoyment. In other words, a materialist accepts the bodily concept of life. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu did not regard the son of Maharaj Prataprudra with the idea that he was a materialist, being the son of a materialist. Nor did he consider himself the enjoyer. Mayavadi philosophers make a great mistake by assuming that the Satchidanand Vigraha, the transcendental form of the Lord, is like a material body. However, there is no material contamination in transcendence, nor is there any possibility of imagining a spirituality in matter. One cannot accept matter as spirit. As indicated by the technical verse, Bhauma Iya Dhi, Bhagavatam 10:84-13. Materialistic Mayavadis imagine the form of God in matter, although according to their imagination, God is ultimately formless. This is simply mental speculation. Even though Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is the Supreme Personality of Godhead, he placed himself in the position of a gopi. He also accepted the king's son directly as the son of Maharaj Nanda, Brajendra Nandan Hari. This is perfect vision according to the direction of the Vedic scripture, as confirmed in Srimad Bhagavad Gita, Pandita Samadarshinaha. Such acceptance of the absolute truth, according to Vaishnava philosophy, is explained in both the Mundak Upanishad 3.2.3 and Katha Upanishad 1.2.23 in the following words. Nayam Atma Prabachanina Labhyo na Medhaya na Bahuna Srutena Yam Evesha Vrinute Tena Labhyas Tasyesha Atma Vivrinute Tanum Swam. The Supreme Lord is not obtained by expert explanations, by vast intelligence, nor even by much hearing. He is obtained only by one whom he himself chooses. To such a person, he manifests his own form. The living entity is entangled in material existence due to his lack of spiritual vision. Srila Bhakti Vinod Thakur has sung in his Kalyan Kalpataru, Samsare Ashiya Prakriti Bhajiya Purusha Abhimane Mari. When the living entity comes to the material world, he thinks himself the enjoyer. Thus, he becomes more and more entangled. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu continued, I have become very much obligated just by seeing this boy. After saying this, the Lord again embraced the prince. As soon as the prince was touched by Lord Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, symptoms of ecstatic love immediately manifested themselves in his body. These symptoms included perspiration, trembling, tears, being stunned, and jubilation. The boy began to cry and dance, and he chanted, Krishna, Krishna. Upon seeing his bodily symptoms and his chanting and dancing, all the devotees praised him for his great spiritual fortune. At that time, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu calmed the youth and ordered him to come there daily to meet him. Ramananda Roy and the boy then departed from Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, and Ramananda took him back to the king's palace. The king was very happy when he heard of his son's activities. Thus, by embracing his son, the king was filled with ecstatic love, just as if he had touched Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu directly. From then on, the fortunate prince was one of the most intimate devotees of the Lord. Purport: in this regard, Srila Prabodhananda Saraswati writes, Yat Karunya Kataksha Vaibhavatam. If Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu simply glanced at someone for a moment, that person immediately turned into one of the most confidential devotees of the Lord. The prince came to see the Lord for the first time, but by the Lord's mercy, the boy immediately became a topmost devotee. This was not in theory, but in practice. We cannot apply the Nagna Martaka Nyaya formula. This states that if one's mother was naked in her childhood, she should continue to remain naked, even though she has become the mother of so many children. If a person is actually blessed by the mercy of the Lord, he can immediately become a topmost devotee of the Lord. The logic of Nagna Martrika states that if a person is not elevated on such and such a date, he cannot become an exalted devotee overnight, as it were. This particular instance offers evidence to contradict that theory. On the previous day, the boy was simply an ordinary prince, and the next day he was counted as one of the topmost devotees of the Lord. This was all made possible by the causeless mercy of the Lord. The Lord is omnipotent, all-powerful, or almighty, and he can act as he likes. Thus, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu acted in the society of his pure devotees, performing his pastimes and spreading the Sankirtan movement. Some of the prominent devotees, like Advaita Acharya, used to invite Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu to take his meals at their homes. The Lord accepted such invitations accompanied by his devotees. In this way, the Lord passed some days in great jubilation. Then the car festival of Lord Jagannath approached. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu first of all called for Kashi Mishra, then for the superintendent of the temple, then for Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya. When these three people came before the Lord, he begged them for permission to wash the temple known as Gundicha. Purport: the Gundicha temple is situated 2 miles northeast of the Jagannath temple. At the time of Rath Yatra festival, Lord Jagannath goes to the Gundicha temple from his original temple and stays there for 1 week. After 1 week, he returns to his original temple. It is understood by hearsay that the wife of Indradyumna, the king who established the Jagannath temple, was known as Gundicha. There is also mention of the name of the Gundicha temple in authoritative scripture. The area of the Gundicha temple is estimated to be 288 cubits by 215 cubits. A cubit is about 1.5 feet. The main temple inside is about 36 cubits by 30 cubits, and the Kirtan hall is 32 cubits by 30 cubits. Upon hearing the Lord's request for permission to wash the Gundicha temple, the Padicha, the superintendent of the temple, said, "My dear sir, we are all your servants. Whatever your desire is our duty to perform. The king gave a special order for me to do without delay whatever your lordship orders. My dear lord, washing the temple is not service befitting you. Nonetheless, if you wish to do so, it is to be accepted as one of your pastimes. To wash the temple, you need many water pots and brooms. Therefore, order me. I can immediately bring all these things to you." As soon as the superintendent understood the desire of the Lord, he immediately delivered 100 new water pots and 100 brooms for sweeping the temple. The next day, early in the morning, the Lord took his personal associates with him and with his own hands smeared sandalwood pulp on their bodies. He then gave each devotee a broom with his own hand, and taking all of them personally with him, the Lord went to Gundicha. In this way, the Lord and his associates went to cleanse the Gundicha temple. At first, they cleansed the temple with the brooms. The Lord cleansed everything inside the temple very nicely, including the ceiling. He then took up the sitting place, Simhasana, cleansed it, and again put it in the original place. Thus, the Lord and his companions cleansed and swept all the temple's buildings, big and small, and finally cleansed the area between the temple and the Kirtan hall. Indeed, hundreds of devotees were engaged in cleansing all around the temple, and Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was personally carrying out the operation just to instruct others. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu washed and cleansed the temple in great jubilation, chanting the holy name of Lord Krishna all the time. Similarly, all the devotees were also chanting and at the same time performing their duties, their respective duties. The entire beautiful body of the Lord was covered with dust and dirt. In this way, it became transcendently beautiful. At times, when cleansing the temple, the Lord shed tears, and in some places, he even cleansed with those tears. After this, the place where the deity's food was kept, Bhog Mandir, was cleansed. Then the yard was cleansed, and then all the residential quarters, one after the other. After Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu collected all the straw, dust, and grains of sand in one place, he gathered it all in his cloth and threw it outside. Following the example of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, all the devotees in great jubilation began to gather straws and dust with their own cloth and throw them outside the temple. The Lord then told the devotees, "I can tell how much you have absorbed and how well you have cleansed the temple simply by seeing all the straw and dust you have collected outside." Even though all the devotees collected dirt in one pile, the dirt collected by Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was much greater. After the inside of the temple was clean, the Lord again allotted areas for the devotees to cleanse. The Lord then ordered everyone to cleanse the inside of the temple very perfectly by taking finer dust, straws, and grains of sand and throwing them outside. After Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and all the Vaishnavas cleansed the temple for the second time, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was very happy to see the cleansing work. While the temple was being swept, about 100 men stood readily with filled water pots, and they simply awaited the Lord's order to throw the water from them. As soon as Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu called for water, all the men immediately brought the 100 water pots, which were completely filled, and delivered them before the Lord. In this way, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu first washed the main temple and then thoroughly washed the ceiling, the walls, the floor, the sitting floor, Simhasan, and sitting place, Simhasan, and everything else within the room. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu himself and his devotees began to throw water onto the ceiling. When this water fell, it washed the walls and floor. Then Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu began to wash the sitting place of Lord Jagannath with his own hands, and all the devotees began to bring water to the Lord. All the devotees within the temple began to wash. Each one had a broom in his hand, and in this way they cleansed the temple of the Lord. Someone brought water pot to pour into the hands of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, and someone poured water on his lotus feet. The water that fell from the lotus feet of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was drunk by someone who hid himself. Someone else begged for that water, and another person was giving that water in charity. After the room was washed, the water was let out through an outlet, and it flowed and filled the yard outside. The Lord mopped the room with his own clothes and polished the throne with them also. In this way, all the rooms were cleansed with 100 water pots. After the rooms had been cleansed, the minds of the devotees were as clean as the rooms. When the temple was cleansed, it was purified, cool, and pleasing, just as if the Lord's own pure mind had appeared. Since hundreds of men were engaged in bringing water from the lake, there was no place to stand on the banks. Consequently, someone began to draw water from a well. Hundreds of devotees brought water in the pots, and hundreds took the empty pots away to fill them up again. With the exception of Nityanand Prabhu, Advaita Acharya, Swarup Damodar, Brahmananda Bharati, and Paramananda Puri, everyone was engaged in filling the water pots and bringing them there. Many of the water pots were broken when people collided with one another, and hundreds of men had to bring new water pots to fill. Some people were filling the pots and others were washing the rooms, but everyone was engaged in chanting the holy name of Krishna and Hari. One person begged for a water pot by chanting the holy names, Krishna, Krishna, and another delivered a pot while chanting Krishna, Krishna. Whenever anyone had to speak, he did so by uttering the holy name of Krishna. Consequently, the holy name of Krishna became an indication for everyone who wanted something. As Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was vibrating the holy name of Krishna in ecstatic love, he himself was performing the work of hundreds of men. Prabhu, it's 8:30. Should we stop here?
Yes, thank you, Shraddha Mataji, for an excellent reading session. And thank you again, Shamrupa Prabhu, for reading earlier as well. So thank you all the devotees for joining today's a special program of reading Caitanya-caritāmṛta in anticipation of tomorrow's Lord Gauranga's appearance day. So we will be celebrating Lord's appearance day from Mangalarti starting at 4:30 a.m. and there is a morning program with initiations as well. And then in the evening, also we have the program, I believe, starting at 3 or 3:30. So we hope to see you all there. And Hare Krishna, thank you for joining. And we will end the broadcasting now after, yeah. Vanchakalpadrubhescha kripa sindhubhescha patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo. Anantakoti Vaishnavindra.
Thank you so much, Prabhu. Thank you so much.
Hare Krishna.
Gauranga.
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 Auranga.
Gauranga.
I'll take your leave now, Prabhu.
Yes.